Everybody, Mike D in the building, man. How we doing, guys? I wanted to step in and have a quick conversation with multiple generations because we got something going on in this current generation that I have a question of how do we get to this point, right? So I saw online that Fivio Foreign was sitting down with Jim Jones, and I really wasn't clear on exactly what he was saying, but sounds like he was actually adding to that notion of the Jim Jones and Nas conversation. Let me play what he said real quick. Hold on.
All right, let me just say one thing. What I feel. I grew up with niggas like Sosa, Gino, and I'm not saying that the man is wacky. He's not a legend. He's been out for years. So I got a song with the nigga, and I got a song on the album. And the album got a Grammy, but I can't sit there and say a Nas bar to you or a song. I like One Mic or like a song that's like
But I can.
it's not me.
So, but I understand. So that's what I want the people to know. Like, but I can, because Nas was my era. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Nas was my era. Like I came up fucking with Nas. Like we knew, I know the Nas shit. You know? But moving forward, I started a whole new era and a whole new genre and a generation of people that you did. But I just be doing me. But I'm just telling you how that was. So now that we on that type of shit. So who were some of your biggest influences as rappers coming up? Like, who made you feel like you wanted to become a rapper? Who were some of the people that you wanted to dress like? Like, let me hear some of that, because that's the essence of what makes a nigga become a basketball player. What makes a nigga become, like, who was that for you?
I'm gonna keep it real. I was infatuated with Chief Keef in Chicago. The shit
Shout,
was the
shout out to
shit,
Chief.
the
Shout out to
shit
Chief
was
Keef.
so it was just like it was crazy. I liked the Meek Mills. Pain was crazy. I loved Dipset. Jim
Thank you.
Jones, Joel Santana.
Thank you.
All right, let me just say one.
Okay.
What
I don't want to play again. Okay, there's so many things to pull from here, but where I want to go here is when did it become cool for a generation, current generation, whatever, when did it become cool for a generation to be totally oblivious to things that happened before them or came before them? I was watching this Netflix movie with Eddie Murphy and Pete Davidson, and they play all these different generational gaps. And one of the jokes on there was, I think Pete Davidson shot something in the wastebasket or something, was like Kobe, and then Eddie Murphy is like Reggie Miller, and Pete Davidson's like, who? and I'm like, again, and it's a reoccurring theme, right? I saw that on Freakier Friday too. Me and the family was watching that, and there were countless jokes about a generation or a current generation being oblivious to things that were before them. And my question was, and this before this even came up, was like, when did that become not only cool but acceptable for a current generation to not have any knowledge of anything that came before them or respect for it as well? Because I remember growing up, man, I grew up in the 90s, and I was very aware of who Jackie Wilson was way before my time. I was very aware of who Diana Ross and the Supremes were, Motown was, James Brown, Isaac Hayes. I was never a point in my life, in my upbringing, where I was like, Barry White, who? You know what I mean? Like, when did that become acceptable? And how did we get to this point where we are giving, I don't even want to say the youth, because Fivio Foreign's 35 years old. He ain't no young nigga like that. You know what I'm saying? But that gives the younger people than that even more of a pass. But when did we start giving the youth a pass for basically not only not knowing history, but not acknowledging history and not even doing the work to get hipped up on history? It's just and it's funny because even in the 90s and the early 2000s, the people who grew up in that era, we didn't really have the access that young people have today. Like, if you want to get hip to Nas's catalog, dude, all you got to do is pull up your phone and press play. You could dedicate a couple of days to that. Us, like, for me in the 90s, I heard all of these things about Rakim. Never, it was before my time, and it was so much hip hop going on in the 90s that while I'm going to CD stores or record stores or whatever, buying whatever the latest is, I didn't have that time to catch up to, the greatness of Rakim until later. But again, what I had to do was actually go to these stores and go pick up these albums and really dig into the catalog, talk to the OGs about what song was. And, like when I heard Paid in Full, it grabbed me. When I heard Lyrics of Fury off of Follow the Leader, it grabbed me and it made me want to hear more because you know what? I love hip hop. And anything that I'm not on or not on to, whether it's whether I'm late or not, I'm gonna go back and pick it up and dissect it and break it down and love it. You know what I'm saying? And enjoy it. Did the same thing with Public Enemies. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Like I've heard of Public Enemy when I was young, you know what I'm saying? I heard 911, the singles, Fight the Power, and things like that. Well, you go back and listen to these efforts. You go back and listen to, Run DMC's self-titled album. You go back and listen to Bigger and Deaf or Radio. You go back and do these things. And it's so wild to me that people want to say that they love hip hop, they're engaging in hip hop, and they're making a career off of hip hop. And you haven't even done the work to actually go back and listen to some of the greats. And the only thing that you have to say for yourself is, well, I can't quote a bar, I can't quote a song. That is a reflection of you. And I don't know where we got to a point where we made it acceptable for younger people or people to just use the excuse that that wasn't my generation to not know what they're talking about. If you're in any profession, and they brought up being a basketball player, Jim Jones brought up what made you want to be a basketball player, right? You could come up in a certain era of basketball, but if you really love the sport and you want to be the best at it, you're going to go back and look at what Akeem Olajuwon did, what his footwork looked like. You're going to go back and look at Moses Malone, what made him successful, depending on whatever your position is. And don't think that LeBron James, even though he didn't come up in the Magic Johnson era, don't think that he didn't go back and look at what Magic Johnson did on the court at his size. You know what I'm saying? If you're truly engulfed in the craft, you're going to do these things. And my thing is, these conversations that seem like they're just happening and focused on denigrating Nas and his legacy, what you're doing is making yourself look silly because I don't understand what the full point is. Even with, because Fivio Foreign didn't really even make a point. If he's trying to make a point, what is the point? Are you saying that Jim Jones is better than Nas? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that you're just not aware of Nas's work? That's a reflection of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a reflection of you that you didn't do the work or you don't have the mental capacity or the intelligence to even dig into somebody's catalog that speaks on this creative writing level. Like, what is the actual point? Because what it does seem like is, the underlining point that they're not making very clearly. You guys are trying to put Jim Jones and Nas in somewhat the same weight class, which they're not. They're not in the same weight class on any given level. There's no level that Jim Jones is in Nas's weight class. Point blank, period. And that's just the bottom line. And I don't know why this conversation keeps coming up, who created this conversation. But, again, New York, and I've seen it out there, man. New Yorkers are checking Fivio Foreign, because it's unfortunate that he was actually on King's Disease 1. He's 35 years old. And if you're working with a legend too, and you're doing music with a legend, you would think that that would give you even more momentum to say, you know what, I'm not aware of this catalog. Let me dig into this catalog, and not only just show some respect, but just for a cultural reference, get into this that I missed out on. You know what I mean? Another artist that I did that with, who was before my time, but he was around in the 90s, heavy, still around today, is KRS. You know what I'm saying? Like Kane as well. If you really love what you're doing and you really love this hip hop thing, you'll dig into those artists that were before your time, and you won't make statements like this. But again, my biggest question here is, when did it become cool and acceptable for current generations or generations after another to just totally ignore history. And I do feel like in a information age that we have now, it is totally unacceptable. All you got to do, man, is just go on this little device that you on right now, key in the words of that artist, their material. You can go find the material that you're missing, and you can actually go listen to the material that you're missing. Excuse me. But this generation has made it acceptable to not do the work and just say that's not my era. Again, I would never tell my father that, growing up in the 90s, that R. Kelly was better than Marvin Gaye just because I wasn't listening to Marvin Gaye and he wasn't current. I mean, that's not an argument to make. And it's so disrespectful to do, and it's so dismissive of the work that's been put in. Not only is it dismissive and disrespectful to the individual and their work, but it's disrespectful to the genre and to the culture. And to me, I view it as a bit of a history eraser as well. It's making erasing history acceptable right in front of everyone's eyes. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know if I'm tripping, man. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. All right.